Buenos dias, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again on the AM shift. We all know what's going on. The Mueller report, finally, it was released yesterday, lightly redacted, meaning there was minimal information blacked out that we couldn't see. Mostly having to do with the, what was the dude's name? Roger Stone. That's right. The geriatric motherfucker that they sent half the damn SWAT team to get in the middle of the night. So, what do we know? We know all the shit we knew before. There's no collusion. That was basically half of the report. Half was collusion. The other half was whether or not he obstructed justice. So as far as the collusion, we already knew that shit. There's no collusion there. He's not a Russian agent. He didn't conspire with the Russians. He had nothing to do with the Russians as far as tampering with our election. Tampering, whatever. So, we already knew that shit. Anybody with half a brain already knew that, even though the mainstream mediocres and every idiot with a D next to their name has been telling us and shouting to us that Trump was working with the Russians. Putin, collusion. It's been a steady diet for them since he got elected. As far as the obstruction of justice, it basically said in there, this is the little snippet that all of the Democrats and liberals were tweeting. If there was sufficient evidence to exonerate the president, we would have stated so. So what that means, I guess, is that something may have happened, but there wasn't enough evidence there to file charges or to prosecute. So what the fuck does that mean? Yes or no? Did he obstruct justice or not? I'm taking from this, not. Because if he did, you know they'd have his ass in handcuffs in front of the cameras right now. Like I said, this has been 80% of their diet since he got in there. Collusion, obstruction, collusion. That's all they've been talking about. So if there's any evidence that something really happened, this thing would explode. You ever seen that video where these two fucking idiots have this giant pile of scrap wood, and one of the dummies is holding the camera and the other dummy is pouring gasoline all over it? The dummy on the pile, that's the Democrats. They've been pouring this collusion, obstruction gasoline all over this pile of scrap wood. And the idiot who was on top of the pile, he comes down, throws a match or something, but as soon as it hits this pile, as soon as it hits this pile, boom! It's like a fucking nuclear explosion. Camera falls, they go flying. That's exactly what would have happened. They've been pouring gasoline on this pile so long, if there was the slightest spark that he really did something, fucking mushroom cloud, it's over. Get him out of here. But that didn't happen. And MSNBC and CNN, they were so fucking sad that Trump wasn't found to be guilty of collusion and or being a Russian agent. How about, all right, our president's not a fucking foreign agent. Good, we got a good guy in there. Let's move on. No. They can't. You can't just take the crack away from a fucking crackhead and expect them to get a job and straighten their life out. You can't take heroin from a fucking heroin addict and expect them to go, all right, I'm all done with that shit. You can't. They need it. They need Trump to be doing something wrong to justify their fucking existence. But you know what? Collusion, obstruction of justice, re-election, the economy, none of this shit matters. The wall, none of it matters. None of the things that Democrats want to do matters. All these bills they're pushing through, all the anti-lynching bills and the fucking wanting to be able to murder a baby when it's outside of its mom, None of that shit matters. Gas prices, taxes, none of it. You know why? Because according to them, according to all of them, all the Democratic talking heads, all these fucking leaders, the sexy, hot, freshman, diverse class, all these colored fucking women bullshit, none of that matters. Because according to them, climate change is an existential threat. That means climate change is a threat to our existence. That means we're gonna die. We're gonna die. You ever see that Richard Pryor skit? I'm gonna die. When he was on acid, I'm gonna die. That's what they're telling us. So if we're gonna die, what the fuck does all this matter? Like when you have a death in the family, there's that mood in the air. Nothing else matters. Work, school, none of that. It's all canceled because we're dealing with a much bigger issue here. None of that shit matters. So what? Call your boss, tell him fuck you, pull your kids out of school, stop paying your fucking bills because we're gonna die, right? All the 2020 presidential candidates, all the Democratic ones, they're telling us that climate change is an existential threat. So why are we talking about anything else? They should be talking about nothing else. Loco Cortez should have on a fucking hard hat and a tool belt, and she should be running around the U.S. trying to retrofit these buildings so we don't die. But why are they not talking about that? Why are they not talking about anything but climate change, global warming? These are lives we're talking about here. So either they're lying to us or this shit's not going to happen. Either they're lying to us or they fell and bumped their head and forgot which things are more important than others. We're talking about our lives of the planet, right? We're gonna fucking die. So why are we worried about this election political bullshit? Why are we going to work every day? We're gonna fucking die. They're not talking about that. They're not screaming from the rooftops about that because they're fucking lying. Just like saying Trump's a Nazi. He got Hitler in the White House. If we really had Hitler in the White House, why are you not standing in front of the White House with torches and pitchforks to get that motherfucker out of there? Because you're lying. You know damn good and well he ain't no fucking Nazi and he's not racist. Shit. If he is, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? If he is, he sure hides it well. If he is, he's the worst racist I've ever seen. I can give you a few tips. You're doing it all wrong, President. But they're fucking lying. They're fucking lying about this collusion bullshit. They're lying about the obstruction of justice. They know that shit didn't happen. Mueller has had a bottomless pit of resources, a blank check. And he came up with, well, if he's not totally exonerated. We kind of maybe, he did kind of something, I think. Man, what the fuck is that? You give me that much time and that much money, I'm gonna give you more than, well, if he was exonerated, we would have said so. And he talked this mealy mouth bullshit. And don't forget, Trump, now, if he really committed a crime and he was really in trouble and he really saw the end of his presidency, because there's a quote in there saying that when Mike Pence told him, hey man, they're starting an investigation, Trump just slumped in his chair and was like, man, that's the end of my presidency. This is terrible. I'm fucked. End quote. If he really felt that way, why didn't he pick up the phone and say, Mueller, it's a wrap, stop the investigation? And he could have done that. That is well within his executive power. It's completely legal for him to be like, no, stop it. Investigation's over. And that's it. Why wouldn't he? If you're a child and you know that when your dad gets home, he's going to whoop your ass, but all you have to do is pick up the phone and say, Dad, we don't need to do that. And he would be like, okay, no problem, son. I'll see you when I get home. Why would you go through the stress of knowing you're going to get your ass whooped all day? And why would you take that ass whooping when all you have to do is say, hey, Dad, we don't need to do that. Okay, what do you want for dinner? Problem solved. It's human nature. Why wouldn't you stop a fucking cataclysmic event from happening to you when you have complete legal authority to do it? Why wouldn't he? The mainstream mediocres are raking him over the fucking coals anyway. They want to impeach him anyway. They say he's a fucking crook anyway. So why the fuck would you let that happen? It just doesn't make sense. I know you get into the politics and the presidents and senators and congressmen, FBI, all this big shit. But it all comes down to real simple shit. If you knew something was coming, why wouldn't you stop it? If you knew they're going to find out some shit about you, and it's all going to come out, you're going to jail, why wouldn't you stop it? My daughter is 7 years old. She could figure that shit out. But they didn't tell us anything we didn't know. Yeah, no shit, our president's not a fucking Russian agent. Yeah, no shit, he didn't obstruct justice. And obstruction of justice, there has to be intent. It has to be like, I'm doing this for this wrong reason. I'm doing this knowing it's illegal. How do you prove intent? There's no smoking gun, there's no footage, there's no camera, there's no audio. How do you prove a smoking gun? You can't. That's why they didn't fucking do anything. That's why it's a 448-page fucking paperweight. People, if it's early in the morning, you know where the fuck I'm going to take my place in this rat race. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow your boy on the Twitters @Green_Jericho. I am Jericho Green, and I'm out.